Hello and welcome back, adventurers. This is Captain TTRPG, and today we're talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Hello and welcome back, adventurers. With the guide out of the way, we are going to do our usual thing here and rank the subclasses for the Exemplar. But what makes up an Exemplar subclass? Much like with the Kineticists, it's not as easy as that, because there are so many ways to build your own subclass here. At level 1, you'll get to choose 3 icons, and the combination of those really makes up your subclass. But then you can take a feat at level 8, that gives you another. Anyway, there's no way I can effectively look at all combinations. I even showed the number of combinations in my last one, which is the 3, that's 1330. We're not doing that, so I'm going to rank them on their own as if they were just a single icon, as if that's all you had. But because there are 3 types, weapon, worn, and body, ranking them against each other can be kind of odd and extra challenging, really. So instead, I'm going to rank the types of icons against each other, and then at the end, I will bring it all back together onto one image so that you can really take a look at it and see how they do line up when you put them all on one graph. So keep in mind, weapon against weapon, body against body, worn against worn here. For any given icon, what are we ranking? Well, each icon has 3 aspects about it. Well, beyond which type they are, but we've already said we're going to cordon those off, so don't worry about that. Okay, so first is what type of item or body part or whatever it is that you can use for the icon. Now, weapons is really the only place this comes in as a real restriction, because you can just say you have a circlet on, or you can just say you have a scar, so it's not like a big deal for the body and worn, but for weapon, it definitely matters. Then we have the Imminence ability, which is your passive bonus for just having your Divine Spark in the icon. And finally, you have your Transcendence ability, which is the action or activity you get to use that you trigger in the icon that then has the spark leave the icon and go to a different icon. So these are what we're going to rank based on. My subclass rankings will be from S to D as they always are, but there are some slightly different criteria here, not completely divorced from the way we look at it normally, but a little bit different because of the way that the icons play versus like a regular subclass. So let's get into what those rankings really look like. So we start off with an S. This is an icon that is valuable to almost any character build. If it is a weapon, it is strong in all scenarios and breaks the power of feats available to other classes in some way. As a worn icon, it provides non-situational value to the whole party, and the Transcendence feature is always useful. As a body icon, it has to be strong enough that you will want to leave the spark in it or return the spark to it each turn with an Imminence ability that gives you guaranteed returns. This icon should be good for its type that choosing something else feels like taking a loss. A is an icon that will be strong in combat in any adventure. It is strong, but not so universally good that it's a must-take. For a weapon, it must have a reliable Imminence ability, and Transcendence ability must feel like something you want to do as often as you can. For a worn icon, the Imminence ability is very strong, but the Transcendence ability may be situational. For the body icon, this could mean something that's, when timed well, is very strong, but may not be perfect every single round. A B, this is an icon that is generally more situational, but still good in those situations. You're happy to have it, and your spark can generally be there, and you're not upset about that, but the value you get from it isn't obvious, at least turn after turn. C are icons that have a specific use, but may not come up. Perhaps it's so situational that you can only get value from it once every other combat, or the Imminence ability doesn't seem to have much effect except in the perfect situation. D, you might as well just avoid this icon. It's a trap, or doesn't truly do what it looks like it should. Either way, it won't feel good to use, and you won't ever want to move your spark into this icon, which should be very rare. With all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into these, starting with the body icons, because to me, they're the least exciting. Not that they aren't good, I just don't like them as much as I like the worn and the weapons. So I want to start here. Going in alphabetical order, because I have to have some order. Eye-catching spot. This goes on the face, somewhere on the face, a beauty mark, something. The Imminence is enemies have a -1 circumstance penalty to melee attacks against you. The Transcendence ability is called Captivating Charm. This is 2 actions. You force a creature within 30 feet to make a will save against your class DC, and keep in mind, whenever I say make a save against whatever, it's always going to be against your class DC, so I may not repeat class DC, it's always there. Or it becomes fascinated by you, which doesn't break if you attack its allies. Still breaks now every other way, but at least it doesn't break from that, which was the biggest problem probably for Fascination. So the Imminence ability will feel good a lot of the time, at least, because getting hit in melee is pretty common. That's usually where attacks are coming from. If you plan to be in melee at all, great, it'll come up a lot. If you're a ranged character, it may come up less often. Even if you're a ranged character, though, of course it does happen. Now, the Transcendence ability, though, boy, that's less exciting here. Yes, it does make Fascinated somewhat better, but the hostile actions of others can still break Fascination. Your enemies can cause that one enemy to become unfascinated. It's still weak. Fascination's still not amazing, but because it's got a really strong Imminence ability and there's still some value in the Transcendence, I'm going to give it a B. Again, really leaning off of that Imminence ability, which I think is going to be feeling pretty good most of the time. Gaze Sharp as Steel. This goes in your eyes. The Imminence is a +1 status bonus to perception checks and a +2 to AC versus ranged attacks. The Transcendence is a moment unending. This is one action. Your next successful strike deals 1d8, 1d6 extra precision damage. This goes up to 2d6 at 10th level, and finally 3d6 at 18th level. The Imminence is definitely more situational than we saw with Eye-Catching Spot, just because ranged attacks are slightly more situational. They happen less often, but it's still good against ranged attacks. And the perception check would be great if you had it before rolling initiative, but outside of that, when you're just in combat, it'll help with certain things like seeking, but it's not going to come up very often. On the flip side, the Transcendence, while not being crazy strong or anything, is one of the very few ways with a non-weapon to get a damage bonus. And yes, it's a small amount of precision damage, but it is still damage on top of what you're going to do with your next thing. So transferring from this into a weapon, like going from Transcendence here into a weapon, would actually feel really good, which is why it just ekes out of a B to me and actually lands in kind of the A category. I would absolutely recommend this as a nice, easy to use, valuable icon outside of like a weapon icon. So it's something you can easily transition back to. Scar of the Survivor. This is in your skin. The Imminence ability gives you the benefits of the Die Hard feat, which means it's going to be harder for you to die. And you get a +1 status bonus to your Fortitude saves. The Transcendence ability, no scar but this, is one action. You regain 1d8 hit points, which goes up by another d8 every 2 levels. It's fine. Die Hard hopefully won't come up very often, but it's something you don't have to think about. And as long as your spark's in there, great, you'll survive a little longer. The Fortitude save boosts are always nice. I wouldn't say I'm going to hang my hat on a boost that I only have part of the time when my spark's in there to Fortitude saves, but it helps when you're there. So if you know you got something coming, it could be there. The heal, though, is actually quite useful. It's not a huge amount of healing, right? 1d8, 2d8, 3d8, whatever. It's not a ton, right? You're not doing like heal spell levels of healing, but man, is it really nice when you need it. So both of these being okay, they have their situations they're valuable in. Transcendence isn't situational, it's just not hitting that hard. All this comes together into a nice B package, I think, where you're not going to be upset to take this. Skin Hard as Horn. In the skin again. During your daily prep, you're going to choose one of slashing, bludgeoning, or piercing damage. And you're supposed to like hit yourself with that type of damage to set it up, but you don't actually hurt yourself with it. Don't worry about that part. The Imminence ability. You gain resistance equal to half your level to the type of damage you chose. But it only works against non-critical hits. So regular hits on you, you'll have some resistance to them. The Transcendence ability is called Crash Against Me. This is one action. Until the start of your next turn, the resistance is equal to your full level, not half your level. If a creature attacking you hits you with a weapon that deals that type of damage, so a sword against you when you've got slashing resistance, and when they hit, it does no damage because of your resistance or whatever other reason, then the creature will be off guard and have a -2 circumstance penalty to its attack rolls for the rest of its turn with that weapon. So, the Imminence is not great. In fact, it does literally nothing at level 1, because 0.5 is half your level at level 1, and we always ran down in Pathfinder, so 0. Yay. However, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing are the most common types of damage, so getting resistance to those is nice. The Transcendence ability does raise your resistance, which is great. So getting it up to your level is definitely better. Still not mind-blowing, but better. But then there's the rest of that, where if the damage is 0, then they're going to be off guard and all these penalties and all this stuff. That will not happen. Because even low-level enemies that are, let's look at like -1 enemies. They can still do 4 to 6 damage. And you're going to resist one of those? They're still going to do damage. So this won't trigger. Plus, they have to be using a weapon. It can't be a natural weapon. It has to be an actual weapon they're doing this with. This is not going to happen. They may as well just not have put it on here. I cannot see a situation where you reduce the damage to 0 with what is, let's be fair, not a great resistance. This is a C for me. There might be a situation where this can come up. It's not absolute D tier, but I really do not like this specific icon. And that's it for the body icons. They are the smallest group, which is another reason we started with them. So let's jump into the worn icons with Bands of Imprisonment. This goes into anklets, bracers, or a circlet. The Imminence ability is a +1 status bonus to will saves and resistance to mental damage equal to half your level. The Transcendence is called Break Free. For 2 actions, you can, if you're grabbed or restrained, try to break free with a +2 bonus, circumstance bonus, to the chance to break free. As long as you are free, whether you had to break free or not, so you could just be standing there when you trigger this, you move up to twice your movement speed, and at the end, as long as you're next to somebody you're in melee range with, you get to make a melee strike. So even if you aren't breaking free, it's 2 actions to do 3 actions worth of stuff, which makes it good anyway. The +1 to will saves is fine. Again, like Fortitude saves, it's good. It's situational because it's only when the icon's got the spark that you're going to get that bonus. You have to time it up well, but it's still good. The resistance, again, is garbage at level 1. It does nothing, and mental damage doesn't come up that often anyway, so I really wouldn't hang my hat on that here. The Transcendence, however, is always useful, really, pretty much, unless you're right engaged with somebody, but being able to move twice and then attack, this is, people take entire feats for that on certain classes, so that's pretty strong. But with a fairly mediocre and honestly fairly useless Imminence ability a lot of the time, a pretty decent Transcendence ability with a situational part to it, this still lands as a B for me, but it's a good B, and I think it could still come up a lot of times for you. Fetching Bangles. These go into bracers. The Imminence ability is you have a 10-foot aura around you. If an enemy tries to leave that aura, they have to succeed at a will save against your class DC, or their move is just interrupted. They just get stopped. They can't run away. The Transcendence is Embrace of Destiny. This is 1 action. You choose an enemy within 20 feet. It must succeed at a will save against your class DC, or be pulled directly towards you and end up in a square adjacent to you. So you're just pulling them in. Get over here! That's what we're talking about. For a melee character looking to control, this is fantastic. It's hard to find something that does all of this. You get this great aura that makes it so enemies can't leave part of the time anyway. And then even if they do get away, as long as they didn't get too far, you're just pulling them right back to you. You don't have to chase them, just yank them back. As far as a controlling style of player that wants enemies up with them, you cannot do better than this. This is a solid A and is better often than a lot of feats we see for classes. Horn of Plenty. This goes into a wallet or bag or container, something like that'll be your icon. This holds up to 1 bulk of potions and elixirs. It makes 1 free temporary elixir of life per day, which means it'll disappear at the end of the day. You get 2 of these at 8th level and 3 at 16th. The Imminence ability is you can grab out a potion or elixir and drink it for 1 action. Cool, it normally takes 2 actions to pull and drink, but you get it for 1. The Transcendence ability is called Feed the Masses. For 1 action, you grab a drink and you drink it, but rather than you getting the benefits, you choose an ally within 60 feet. That ally is going to get the benefits of what you drank, so you're giving them a buff. If it's something that gives hit points back, you can actually split the hit points between yourself and that ally, however you want to split them. This is one of the more complicated icons. So, is being able to pull something out for 1 action and drink it good? Yes. There's nice self-healing here. That is good. And potions and elixirs are strong. They definitely are strong. Being able to give somebody an ally a buff like this is also definitely very good. And again, it's for one action. So it's nice you don't have to go up to them and give it to them. Here's the problem. You have this container now that's reliant on you crafting or buying or something and constantly restocking it, because 1 a day or 2 a day, that's not exciting on its own. So suddenly this is dependent on you crafting potions or buying potions or something, potions and elixirs, and having them available to you to pull out of the bag. Now, if you have them, if this was constantly refilling itself with like a lot of these, it's fantastic, right? It's really solid. But I don't think it's quite as good as that. So I think that because it's relying on purchasing, this is going to vary a lot from campaign to campaign. If you're in a campaign where you're never getting back to town, or you're not able to craft while you're out and about, or things are really expensive, you don't get a lot of, whatever it is, there's so many caveats to making this work that I don't love it, even though it's really a fantastic support thing to have. And it makes it hard to even want to have your spark in it, because what if you don't want to trigger that transcendence ability? How often are you going to want to feed somebody else a potion? That's another problem here, is you may not want to do that at all. It becomes problematic. You may get yourself stuck in this situation where your spark, you have to move with one action away rather than trigger transcendence. There's so many gaps that if it just refilled itself, if it was just, even if it was just healing stuff, this might even be an A for me. Like, that might be really strong. That makes you not as good as a cleric, but it makes you pretty good. And then it drops to a B because you only get one refilled on its own. You have to handle all that. And then it's a C because the transcendence you don't always want to use. Unfortunately, this really worked its way down all the way to a C for me. And I definitely am going to get some feedback, I think, about that. I think I may be a little more harsh on this than others. But look at all the barriers to this feeling good, and that's where I'm coming from. Mirrored Aegis. This goes into a shield. The Imminence ability gives you a 15-foot aura that grants a +1 status bonus to AC to all allies in that aura. And as long as the spark's in your shield for at least 10 minutes, your shield will just restore itself to health, so you don't have to repair your shield. The Transcendence ability is called Raise the Walls. This is one action. You raise your shield, which is the action raising a shield as well, so you're getting that. And you summon ethereal shields around yourself and one ally within 15 feet. You both get a +1 status bonus to AC, reflex saves, and saves against force, spirit, vitality, and void effects, not just straight damage, but effects, for 1 minute. Granting a +1 AC bonus passively is already incredible. So just getting that for yourself and everybody around you, just bump that up. That is really, really good. Getting the shield repaired is just kind of a cherry on top thing. The Transcendence ability, though, is kind of nutty. Not only are you raising a shield, which you want to do anyway, if you're holding a shield, you want to raise it. So that's just doing something you want to do anyway. And then on top of that, you're going to give yourself that added status bonus to your AC, and your ally's going to get it. Plus you get it with reflex saves and some different traits. This is just good on top of good. The only reason this isn't S is because not everybody wants to wear a shield and be up in melee, but for anybody who wants to wear a shield, this is tip-top, A-tier stuff. Fantastic. You will love having this on your shield build. Pelt of the Beast. This goes into a cloak or a belt. During your daily prep, you're going to choose one of cold, electricity, fire, poison, or sonic damage. Your imminence is you gain resistance equal to half your level to the type chosen, and environmental effects of heat and cold are one step less severe to you. Transcendence is called Survive the Wild. This is one action. You can change the type of protection if you want to. Remember, can. You can leave it alone also. Until the start of your next turn, you have a 15-foot aura granting you and allies +2 circumstance bonus to AC and saving throws against effects with that trait. So suddenly, like a dragon's breath, you changed it to fire. Dragon breathes fire. Everybody in that area, bonus to their saving throws. Once again, though, we have an intimate ability that is garbage at level 1. And I hate that. I hate that it's going to feel bad at level 1. Because in Pathfinder, we generally start at level 1. So that really bothers me. They could have said half your level, minimum 1. That would have been nice here. Unfortunately, as you increase in level, this still just isn't great, because these types of damage aren't going to be as common as something like bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing. However, the Transcendence ability is much stronger here. Being able to change the type is what really makes this all go together. So you didn't choose the right type up front. Great. even if I'm not going to share with everybody, I can change my type and have it go to a different icon. And then when I send it back later, at least I've got the right one for the encounter. That's really nice. But giving a boost to everybody in 15 feet against the type of stuff you know you're facing off against is actually really good. This means also not just things like, area of effect fire spells, but any effect that's got one of these types that's going against your AC, getting a +2 bonus there means, that's a 10% less chance to be critically hit. That's huge. So there is a nice bonus there. It's circumstantial, don't get me wrong. But when it comes up, it's going to feel good, which is why I'm still going to give this one a B instead of a C. I do think this one has better uses, and I don't think you'll be as upset to use it. And if these types are going to show up, you just won't send your essence in here, which is a little disappointing, but that's what situational rankings are all about. Skybearer's Belt. This is use in a belt. The imminence is you can shove, grapple, trip, and disarm characters up to 2 sizes larger than you, rather than normally the 1. And you get a +1 circumstance bonus to do those actions. Also, you get a +1 bonus to your saves against those actions. So it's a lot of little bits and pieces built into that imminence. The transcendence here is bear allies' burdens, 2 actions, use stride. And at any point along that stride, if you're adjacent to an ally, a willing ally, you can pick up the ally, and then somewhere else along the movement, you set them back down. It works with flying or swimming just as well, although letting them go while you're flying is questionable. I'm not sure how willing they were at that point, but they let you pick them up, so it's on them. Okay, so this is for those grapple builds out there. Yeah, there's a nice defensive side to it. It is more situational. Enemies aren't always trying to grapple you, and that's the most common one. Trip is definitely not coming up. It does happen, but it's not crazy. The bonus for you being able to grapple and trip, of course, if you're a grapple build, is fantastic. That's what you're doing. The rider of the 2 sizes larger than you is, I'm going to call that pretty meaningless because, look, if you're a grappler, you took Titan Wrestler. You don't need this. Why would you need this? You already have it. Then we get to the Transcendence ability. So I'm going to have a Transcendence. I'm going to spark a Transcendence that relies on an ally being close enough to me to be within a stride and to want to be dropped off in that stride and doesn't want to be where they are. And I want to do that rather than being probably next to an enemy I'm trying to grapple, or maybe I already am grappling them and now I can't drag them while I do this. It's honestly, these two things do not work together, and I think that Transcendence it could be fine to have that as a feat or something to be able to do that, but as a Transcendence ability, when it's almost never going to come up, and when it does come up, it's awkward with what else you're trying to do, I just don't see these coming together. This is another C for me, which is too bad because this is meant for grapplers, and I want grapplers to have cool things, because I like grapple builds. So take it if you like grappling, but be wary, the Transcendence may not be your friend. 1,000 League Sandals. These go in your sandals. Shoes, any kind of shoes, it's fine. The Imminence, a +10 status bonus to speeds. Flat out. Transcendence, Marathon Dash. For 1 action, use stride. Each ally within 10 feet of where you started can use their reaction to stride as well. Simple and straightforward. 10-foot movement speed bonus. That's good. It's always good. I don't know when it's ever bad. Granting allies the ability to reaction run. That's actually not bad either. Yes, they have to be close to you, but it certainly comes up, and I could almost see it being great just right away at, start a combat. Let all of your allies, if they want to, just rush up with you all at once, do a rush. It's not amazing, but it's good. I think this is a B. Victor's Wreath. And yes, I forgot this one in the guide. It was there in the script. I just, didn't read it. So, sorry. Anyway, this goes into headwear or a belt. You and allies within 15 feet get +1 to your attack rolls. That's the Imminence. +1 to attack rolls. Good stuff. Transcendence. All allies in the aura can make a new save against some ongoing condition or effect, not getting a worse version than what they currently have, even if they fail. The Imminence ability here is fantastic. Top notch. One of the big bonuses for bards is being able to do this, spending an action every turn to keep giving this to people. Yeah, it's more than just that, but this is the big part of it. So that's just, that's amazing. And as long as you're not, even if you are the only one out there, just increasing your chance to hit and crit is really nice. But giving it to everybody within 15 feet is really, really good. And then we have the Transcendence ability. I mean, it's hard to find something more situational than this. Ongoing effects do not happen all the time. You could go 3-4 sessions with this never being a thing. And that is really disappointing. The Imminence is so good that I'm still going to give this a B, but that Transcendence is, at least when it comes up, it's nice, because it affects a whole bunch of people all at once. But man, is that disappointing. The two just, it's a rough combo, but it would have been too good if they gave you a really strong Transcendence, so I kind of get it. Alright, well there were clearly many more worn than we had body icons, but let's move on to weapons. So weapon icons follow a pattern, by the way. Their Imminence abilities will always add some sort of damage to the strikes, like a flat kind of bonus in a way to strikes. The Transcendence ability will alter something to do with your attacks. Usually. This makes them easier to rate against each other, which is part of the reason I broke this up anyway. Barrow's Edge. This is for use with melee weapons that deal slashing or piercing damage. Remember, the requirements on these ones actually do matter. Imminence ability. Strikes with Barrow's Edge deal 1 more spirit damage per weapon damage die. Flat. This goes up to 3 damage per weapon damage die if the enemy's below half health. The Transcendence ability is called Drink of My Foes. It is 1 action. If your last action had to be a successful strike with Barrow's Edge, then, for this 1 action, you regain hit points equal to half the damage you dealt with that last strike. The Imminence here is a poor design in my mind. The 1 damage per weapon damage dice, as you'll see pretty quickly here, is low compared to pretty much every other icon. Now the 3 is higher than most, although not all, but it's only when they're below half health. And if they're below half health, there's a very good chance the extra damage might just be overkill damage that you didn't need anyway, because they're closer to death. And then we've got the Transcendence ability, which, rather than doing more damage, which again you'll see as more of a pattern, or some cool way to do damage, it's a heal. And while it could be nice, if you just got a critical hit to heal up, if you're already at full health, this is useless. If you didn't do a ton of damage, this isn't going to feel great. You don't really want to necessarily spark your Transcendence a lot. And the one thing you'll find with weapons is you should want to spark your Transcendence all the time. This is a C. It's not useless. It's not D territory by any means, but I do not think this is a strong weapon at all. Now that we set the bar nice and low, Gleaming Blade. This is for use with swords or knives or melee unarmed strikes that deal slashing damage, and those do exist. Imminence. Your strikes deal 2 spirit damage per weapon damage dice bonus. Flat +2 per weapon damage dice. By the way, that'll become our kind of our standard. That's kind of like the base bar for what good looks like. The Transcendence is Flowing Spirit Strike. 2 actions. You make 2 strikes using your current multiple attack penalty against 1 creature. If your weapon doesn't have Agile, though, this is a -2 penalty on the second attack. So just keep that in mind. Otherwise, solid. Combine the damage with the hit with both, dealing all of it as spirit damage. And you combine, this is for resistance and weakness sake. You only add precision damage once, though. So if you do have a bunch of precision damage, you don't get it from both strikes, you only get it from 1. And then afterward, this counts as 2 strikes from your multiple attack penalty. The Imminence damage, while not exciting or in any way, is just solid. 2 damage per weapon damage dice is a nice, solid bonus. This is like what you get from base rage or anything like that. Solid damage. The Transcendence is just plain strong. This is a power attack on steroids. Yes, you could miss one of the 2, and then it doesn't feel quite as good, but then it's just like missing the regular power attack. The -2 hit on the second one probably isn't a killer here. It just means you're going to probably not crit as likely, but you still have a decent chance to hit. I mean, it lowers both, but you know what I mean. But getting both, I mean, this is stronger than power attack where you're just adding a dice or 2. This is a full-on strike. This is whatever your dice are, plus the spirit damage, plus the strength bonus, plus whatever runes you have on. It's all of it. All for basically no penalty. This is S tier. This just works. This is good on any weapon you can put it on, and any melee build will want to take advantage of this. It's just good. Hand of Wilding. This is used with freehand weapons or unarmed strikes. Your Imminence ability is your strikes deal 1 extra spirit splash damage per weapon damage dice, and you are immune to the splash damage. The Transcendence, Feral Swing. This is 2 actions. All creatures in a 15-foot cone make a basic reflex save. On a fail, they take damage equal to a normal attack damage of this weapon. But it's all less spirit damage. You can impose a -2 penalty on the saves of all of the creatures in there, but this makes you off guard until the start of your next turn. Splash damage is both situational, because there may be only one enemy there, and also possibly detrimental, because if you've got one enemy and then an ally flanking with you on the other side, you're now dealing damage to them. It's only a small amount of damage, but still, why? So that's not great. And then the Transcendence ability that's at least interesting. A cone is nice, being able to hit more, and AoEs, aren't terribly common for martials, so that's nice. But it's not a ton of damage. It's okay damage, it's not bad damage. It's not a ton of damage. And the -2 penalty to their saves, trade-off thing, is very cool. But even with that, keep in mind that also your allies get hit in this. It's not just enemies. Allies in the area will also get hit by this. So suddenly, you've got to be careful of them as well. This just also isn't strong. This is another C for me. I just don't think it holds up to the other icons. Mortal Harvest. This is used with a sickle or any axe, flail, or polearm. The Imminence is 1 persistent spirit damage per weapon damage die. And Transcendence is Reap the Field for 1 action. If your last action was a successful strike with this weapon, you stride up to half your speed and make another melee strike with this weapon against a different creature, but you get to use the same multiple attack penalty you had for the first strike. And then after both, then increase your multiple attack penalty. Persistent damage can be good, but it's not like it builds up or anything. It simply replaces itself, so it's not going to be a ton of damage, but it's still persistent damage, so it's okay, but I don't love it. It's still not as good as some of the other things we've seen. Then we have the Transcendence ability. In Pathfinder, the best idea is usually to take out a single target. Leaving one target to go attack another target is only good if that first target died, usually. Not always, but usually. Which means you probably don't want to use the Transcendence unless you just finished off that enemy, which certainly isn't going to be 100% of the time. And then you also have to have a different enemy you can get to strike, making the Transcendence, again, we've had some pretty poor luck with some of these Transcendence abilities. It's another one that just doesn't feel good a lot of the time. So again, I'm falling to saying, wow, that Transcendence is so situational, this is a C. And it's starting to feel like I only like one weapon. I promise you that will not continue. The alphabet is just not being nice to us. Noble Branch. This is used with a staff, bow staff, fighting stick, kakara, any spear or polearm, stuff with sticks. The Imminence ability is 2 spirit damage per weapon damage die, straight flat bonus, just like we had on one of our previous ones. Transcendence is Strike, Breathe, Rend, 1 action. If your last action was a successful strike, which is the only time you can trigger it, I keep saying if, your last action had to be a successful strike with this icon to take this action, then the target of your last strike takes spirit damage equal to the Noble Branch weapon damage dice, including all those from striking runes, but nothing else. So no flat bonuses, no extra spirit damage bonus that you get from your Imminence ability or any special runes. And the Imminence here, baseline 2, good. Where we want to be, solid numbers. The Transcendence I do like, and the reason I like it is, yes, you're not going to hit as hard as if you landed 2 strikes together, but that second one has a chance to miss. Here, you already know you've hit, and you're just adding on weapon damage dice again, making it the 1 action for the strike before plus this effectively power attack. Only you know you landed it because you would never use this other action if you didn't land. So I actually like it better than power attack. Now, it's not going to hit like a truck. You're losing some of the damage you get off of some of the stronger icons, which is why I'm going to give it an A, but it's a solid A, and I do like this. Shadow Sheath. This is for use with a holster that can hold a one-handed thrown weapon or of light or less bulk. That last part does matter for choosing your weapon. You spend 1 minute to load up the sheath with the weapon, at which point you can summon exact copies into your hand, and so that you're capable of throwing them, you summon them into your hand as a free action so that you're capable of throwing them at an enemy. Your strikes with weapons that are summoned from the sheath deal 2 additional spirit damage per weapon damage die, or 3 if the target was off guard. The Transcendence ability is Liar's Hidden Blade. 1 action. Your last strike had to be unsuccessful. You make a second strike with the same multiple attack penalty as the first against the same creature, but now the creature's off guard to your attack. This will add to your multiple attack penalty afterward, but before it ends, you get to summon another weapon into your hand as a free action. The imminence damage is baseline plus some, making it, honestly, I think the strongest imminence damage we have. The Transcendence ability is also fantastic, allowing you to turn failures into almost certain successes, really high chance successes. And you get to capitalize on the imminence ability, so that +3 to your damage, with their off guard. Well, now you're making them off guard, so fantastic, you've added on to that. And it's really the best way to go with thrown weapons. Yes, it's potential to use with some of the later ones, because if it's a purely thrown weapon, you can use it as a ranged, but this is a thrown weapon dream and gets an A for sure. It's only for thrown weapon builds, though. Starshot. Ranged weapon, and the imminence ability is 1 additional splash damage per weapon damage die. Transcendence is Giant Felling Comet. 2 actions. You detonate a 5-foot burst within 60 feet. All creatures in that area must make a basic reflex save against your class DC, taking normal damage of a regular attacks damage on a failure. But it's basic, so of course, crit failure, double, success, half damage, okay? Creatures larger than you get a -2 penalty to their save. The splash damage isn't great, but it is better on a ranged weapon, because now you can target creatures that happen to be next to each other when you're going to go to attack, dealing some damage, and you can avoid attacking your allies. So I do think it's much better in a ranged weapon. But the AoE here is really cool. Yes, 5 feet is small. That's a small area. You're at best going to get 2 creatures into this, let's be realistic. But here's the cool thing. It really begs you to be a small player character, right? If you're small or tiny, almost everything you fight is going to be bigger than you, taking a penalty to the save, meaning that the chance of them failing or critically failing the save goes way up. Either way, this is really interesting. It offers something very different, and I think you are going to want to use your Transcendence ability. Sometimes targeting a save is better than an attack roll anyway, depending on the setup of the fight. This is a solid B, though, because there is still some situationalness to the way that the AoE could work, and one target's not going to feel amazing. So I think both the Imminence and Transcendence both fall in a solid B territory. Titan's Breaker. This is used with clubs, hammers, axes, unarmed melee strikes that deal bludgeoning damage. Your Imminence is 2 damage per weapon damage die. Spirit damage, of course. The interesting thing here is there's a rider. That this can actually hurt constructs and objects that are immune to spirit damage. And it bypasses hardness even. So lots of little riders, most of them extraordinarily situational, but riders on top of a good baseline. The Transcendence is Fracture Mountains. 2 actions. You strike, and if you hit, you deal 4 spirit damage per weapon damage dice instead of 2. And you add 1 additional weapon damage dice to your already damage dice you have on the weapon. At level 10, this goes up to 6 spirit damage per weapon damage dice and 2 extra dice. And at 18th level, this is 8 spirit damage per weapon damage dice and 3 extra dice. So this is extra buffed power attack. Being extra buffed power attack, I think, is solid. The Imminence, again, standard, great. You can get a few extra creatures with it, though, so it is buff on top of good. And the power attack we have here, yes, I mean, it's just solid. It's going to hit really hard. You're never going to feel bad about that. You want it to be against a single target anyway. It's using your max multiple attack penalty. This is another S for me. Any melee build is going to love using this. One-handed, two-handed, it's always going to feel good. Unfailing Bow. This is used for the ranged weapon. You get 1 additional damage per weapon damage dice, but on a crit, that's 1d4 additional damage per weapon damage dice. Your Transcendence ability is Arrow Splits Arrow for 1 action. Your last action was a successful strike with this icon. You attack the same target with another shot. Multiple attack penalty does happen, but you don't re-roll the dice. You keep whatever you rolled on the dice, and now you just take your multiple attack penalty to it, meaning you know precisely the outcome of what this will do. Now, one caveat here. If you rolled a 20 on the d20 the first time, you don't get the guaranteed boost up and chance to hit, so it won't turn a hit into a crit, but you're probably going to crit anyway because you got a 20, and even with multiple attack penalty, it means you have a 15, or 16 if you had an agile on a weapon. So it's still good. It's just not a guaranteed crit if you had rolled a 20 on the first one. But yeah, you know what the outcome's going to be most of the time. I actually think that the 1d4 on crits with the imminence here is kind of not terrible. Like, there's good and bads to it. Already with ranged weapons, you're crit fishing, right? Look at your longbows and short bows and all that, some thrown weapons as well. You're already looking to crit fish because you want to get the deadly, whatever it is, deadly D10, deadly D8 to happen. So you're trying to still make that happen, which means you're rewarded extra hard for getting a crit. Problem is it feels extra bad on a non-crit, so I don't love that. It's a trade-off. The Transcendence ability, well, I like that you can just know how it's going to go. For the most part, again, you don't necessarily know an enemy character's AC, but you can at least have a pretty good idea if it's worth using. It's not as good to me as what we saw with our staff earlier, because that meant you knew you were going to just deal the extra damage because you'd hit, now you're just laying it in. This one you almost certainly know, but you can't be 100% on that. So this drops it down from an A to a B for me. Both parts kind of live in that area, but it's a solid B again. All right, so on screen here, I have put them all up for you to look at, so you can kind of look how they all play out together. You noticed only a couple of S's on here, both of them weapons, but both of them very, very strong weapons. No D's, though. The Ikons don't ever fall into a D. There's at least good situations for them. You're never upset to have them. So this tells you that no matter what you do, it's going to be hard to build a bad. So what do you think? Did I overrate certain Ikons or miss valuable use cases for others? Give me your thoughts in the comments, and as always, adventure on.